It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
We're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, blah, 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 blah. No matter when you listen, no matter when you watch, and I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Holiday Inn properties. That's right. If you're looking to travel someplace, especially in the U.S. of A., don't stay anywhere else except for a Holiday Inn property. Hey, I'd give you even a better reason, a financial reason to stay there, because we can save you some money. That's right. Call Billy C's toll-free Holiday Inn Express line, 844-603-0364, 844-603-0364. Get a discount no matter where you stay on any of the Holiday Inn properties, and you can thank me later. Hey, you can't remember the number? Just go to the website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Holiday Inn banner. It's right on the right-hand side. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino and their next boxing event, which is taking place this weekend, Saturday. I'm going to be ringside. And I want you to be there, too. It's an HBO event. It's the day before Mother's Day. Come on over. Say hello. Buy me a scotch. Yeah, that'll be good. And then I'll reciprocate and buy you a scotch that you don't drink, and then I'll drink it. Yeah. Get yourself some tickets now. Oh, you want to fast track the tickets? You want to bypass the middleman? You want to get the best price available? We'll hook you up. Just click the fight poster on BillyCBoxing.com. It'll take you right to the box office. You'll bypass all the additional charges, and you'll get the tickets for the best price available. And by the way, did I forget to mention, should I mention, that there's not a bad seat in the house at the Turning Stone Casino? Trust me, I love it. It's become my favorite venue to watch live boxing. If you've never seen a live boxing event, this is the perfect time. Go stay at a great facility, watch some boxing, hang out with me, and all that happy stuff. This weekend, Saturday night, Turning Stone Resort and Casino. Get yourself some tickets right now. And finally, today's show, she's being brought to you in a part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Men on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to this show. Just visit BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. What? Wait, time out. You want a signed copy? I'll hook you up, man. Just go to my website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book and follow the directions. The directions. Hey, you want more than one copy? You're my favorite pal. Just drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. My favorite pal. That sounds like an old parlor talk from Sal Rocky Senecola. Hey, pal. How you doing, pal? We'll get to that in 1 second. Hey, coming up a little bit later on the show, I got some outrageous comments made by Oscar De Lay Hoya. I don't know if he's back into the drugs or if he's back into wearing pantyhose again or if he's back into doing whatever he did a couple of years ago. But he's saying some ridiculous stuff. And I hope that there's nobody out there that is buying into his crap. We got all the fight results, including my favorite result, Tony Bellew knocking the fraud David Haye out. We'll get to all of that. We're going to start off with the big fight for the weekend. And that, at least in my opinion, that was Triple G against Vanes Martirosyan. It was on HBO. Listen, Triple G looked like he was pissed off in that fight. Now, let's make sure we're realistic here. Vanes Martirosyan was a last-minute sub. There's no question about it. But the guy came in shape. He was in good shape. Don King, not so much. But Vanes Martirosyan, in great shape. Triple G got caught by Martirosyan in the first round. I thought he got caught. And then Triple G decided to fight. I noticed something about Triple G that was negative. And this is actually the first time that I ever really have a negative thing to say about Triple G. Triple G, in my opinion, cuts the ring off like no other. He's got power in both hands. He's relentless. He can take a shot, all those things. But the one thing I noticed, and I don't know, maybe it was the opponent, I honestly never noticed it before. But the way he was delivering his punches were kind of like looping overhand. They were coming around like they weren't going straight. They weren't a direct path to his target. They were kind of going up and around. Now, I know sometimes you specifically use that style punch if you're fighting a guy that is susceptible to it, but it seemed to me, and at first I didn't even think twice about it when I saw him delivering his punches like that. But as the fight went on, for as short as it did, it seemed like every punch he was throwing like that. Not a direct straight line, the shortest distance to his target. It was kind of looping, and a faster, more accurate puncher may have been able to counter him in the middle of him throwing that punch. Needless to say, he improved to 38-0 with a draw, 34 of his wins coming by knockout, stopping Vanes Martirosyan at 153 of the second round. Martirosyan drops to 36 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw. Joining me right now, and I'm curious to get his thoughts on my opinion about these punches, what I noticed, is Sal Rocky Senecola. Good morning, Sal.
Good morning, Billy C. How are you out there, pal?
I don't know, man. I'm looking at a blank. I see you. I see your face, but in the camera shot I got right now, it doesn't have you sitting there. Are you wearing like invisible clothes or something?
Whoa. Now I'm concerned.
Something's weird.
How's that shot?
No, I don't see you at all. I'm not seeing you, Sal. Although I see you in another shot, I'm not getting you on the screen. I don't know what that is, but give me your thoughts.
I have a big screen picture actually right now. I see myself in a big screen.
Well,
I mean, it's really weird.
You can play with that while you're giving me your thoughts. Did you notice? And I don't have your shot up here because I don't see you. Yeah. But did you notice what I'm saying? Like his punches seem looping.
Well, I don't want to say swarming or roundhouse, for lack of a better term.
They weren't quite that. They weren't quite that.
No, they
bad.
weren't quite
you know what I mean?
extreme like that. But I did notice they were choppy, coming over the top and around, and nothing to say that it was negative. For this guy, it worked, and maybe that's how he was preparing for Canelo Alvarez. It's hard to say, but I did notice. He did get caught in the first round by Martirosyan, and I think that's why he came out with that nasty streak, so to speak, in the second round. I think he said, "Hey, you know what? I'm not going to take the chance with this guy," because he did get caught in the first round. I know that he did. And he came out and he wanted to close the show and end the night. And he had that sneer, like he was pissed. And I think he should carry that in the ring a little more often. And certainly when he had Martirosyan's back against the ropes and he was pounding him with those looping punches that were very effective, that's what I expected to see with that sneer, that nasty sneer in his face against Canelo Alvarez in the first fight. And that's what I didn't see.
At a high-end dishwasher. Go kaput. the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. I think you're watching and listening to the Billy C Show. Glad you could be with us. And now I think I got you, Sal. Are you there? Yeah, now I see you.
I am here, Billy C.
Hey, I got to blame myself on that. Not myself. I don't want to make any excuses, Sal. But we had
I like the butt factor.
What happened? I was just telling you before we went on air that we got hit with this wild storm up here. It was weird. I didn't have power for 2 days, and they may be, and all these trees came down and stuff, and they may be working on some connections because we were dropping and everything during that first little segment. I couldn't even get the commercials to play, but it seems like we're back in the saddle. I want to give a shout out to my man Joel, who gave us a super chat to kick off our notes. So to kick off our show. I'm reading his notes. So that was that. So I appreciate that. So finish your thought about what I was saying, noticing Triple G throwing his punches kind of with a loopy fashion. Not like looping drastically, but somewhat loopy. What was your thoughts on that?
Well, like I said, I don't know how much you heard earlier, but, I liked what I saw when he came out in the second round because I agree with you. He was hurt. Not hurt. He was caught by Martirosyan in the first round. Definitely got his attention. And I think after that first round, he said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to take this chance tonight. I'm going to go out there and close it big. And he had what we would like to call that nasty streak. I saw the snare in his face. He wanted to get Martirosyan out right away, and he did so. And sometimes coming over with those choppy punches, you get more of a more of your shoulder and momentum into it, and I think that's what he just tried to do. In fact, when he had Martirosyan on the ropes and he had that nasty snare on his face, he did it in a fashion, punching with authority, in a fashion that I expected to see him when he had Canelo Alvarez on the ropes last year. Just like that. And that's not the Triple G I saw against Canelo Alvarez, but the one I saw against Martirosyan, that definitely closed the show and got him out there quick. I don't think that's going to be his new style, coming over the top and swarming with those punches overhand here and there. I think for this style, for this fight, and maybe when he has Canelo Alvarez on the ropes next time they fight, if they do, which I think they will, he may tighten that up and use it because it was effective. You're coming over to your opponent's hands and you're chopping down, you're throwing, pulling, and swarming with that, and it's got some momentum behind it. So I don't know. It worked for Triple G, and he closed the show rather early in that fight.
I agree. I think that I think the bottom line with the Canelo fight is that he showed too much respect for Canelo. Now, Martirosyan technically is a smaller guy. I mean, he generally had fought in a lower weight class. Maybe Triple G didn't respect his punching power as much, but he certainly had a granite chin. Never had been stopped prior to the fight on Saturday. So, it was interesting to hear what Triple G said after the fight. But basically, here we have been talking for several weeks about what we thought was going to take place with Triple G and the rest of his career. And we kind of agreed that it's a couple of fights at most, But that wasn't the indication that Triple G made at the end of the fight. Basically, he says he'll fight anybody in the middle.
Bring him on.
Bring him on. Line him up. Yeah, it sounds like, this is coming from a guy who has no intentions of hanging him up anytime soon at 36. Unless he just was meaning, he's not afraid of anyone. He won't back down. If the Canelo fight, he was also receptive of the Canelo fight. Now, Velez Martirosyan, who was quoted as saying some I thought, classics at the end of the fight. He says, in the post-fight interviews, he said, this is Velez Martirosyan. He says, I'm okay. I'm better now after the knockout. He did look like his marbles were scrambled a little bit. He says, I was prepared for a different Triple G. He surprised me. What a hell of a fighter he is. Going into this fight, I wanted to see what he had. Triple G is one hell of a puncher. My ring rust showed. My timing was off. These 2 years off really affected me. He says, Canelo's got a lot to prove. I could see why he's eating that kind of meat, trying to gain an extra edge. The man, referring to Triple G, is the real deal. 36 old and he's still fighting like that. I wanted to see what the guy had. I went inside to brawl with him, and he got me good. He says, good win for him. He was asked after that comment, if you were Canelo, what advice would you say? Advice would you give Canelo? And his response was a one-word answer, Sal. He said, run. and maybe between that and he said, yeah, and between that and him saying no wonder why he's eating tainted meat, I think it says it all, don't you?
Well, I like Martirosyan, and he is a gamer, and I think this 2 years off, may have caught him, but I think he's a class act, and to say the words he had said after receiving a kind of loss he did with Triple G is a class act, and I'll tell you that's funny. It's like Clubber Lang saying pain. It was really good to hear him say that positive things about Triple G, and he got caught. He felt the power of Triple G, and Triple G was on, and that's why Billy. We thought about it. Why did Triple G go through with this fight on this fight date? You have to, in a sense. He's an older fighter. He wants to stay active. If he was going to wait another year or so to speak, from September when he fought Canelo Alvarez to the following September to refight Canelo Alvarez, which looks like the most popular date to do that on the next Mexican holiday, that's a long period of time, 1 year for this guy. But when you go through the regimen of preparing for a fight, the mindset, fighters, they have their habits, they have their way that they get up for a fight, their psyche, their training regimen. They do everything that worked for them prior to where they are today. So it's a ritual, if you will. And this was just Triple G going through his ritual to keep honed in and ready for Canelo Alvarez or any other big fight that may be around the corner. So my hat's off to him. He did a good job. And my hat's off also to Martirosyan, because he proved to be fearless in that sense. And, he did taste the power of Triple G.
Just to clarify, Triple G has all the belts, right, in the middleweight division, except for Billy Joe Saunders' WBO belt.
Correct.
However, the IBF belt, which the IBF was threatening to strip Triple G if he didn't fight Deverenchenko, decided that they weren't going to strip him, but they did not put their belt on the line. So that fight actually was only for the WBC, WBA, and IBO titles. Obviously the WBO, the WBO title isn't his, and the IBF title wasn't on the line. I wanna read what really pissed me off from Oscar De La Hoya. Now, I want to start off by saying this. I was always a big fan of Oscar De La Hoya. I've been critical of his about-face move, so to speak, specifically with Canelo and his overprotecting and his copycatting of Floyd Mayweather's path to money, et cetera, et cetera. And, it's no secret about this whole situation with Canelo. It was a headline news story for a long time in the sporting world. That he cheated. I mean, he used clenbuterol, which is a performance-enhancing drug. He claimed it was from tainted meat. He failed not one but two tests. After it was out of his system, he passed several tests, and most recently, he passed a hair follicle test. Up until, especially during that point, when the test results for the hair follicle test came back, I figured that was it, that he was right. I've come to learn that a hair follicle test isn't as accurate as I thought. So I've, again, backed off about, those performance-enhancing drugs, because I just don't know enough about what is what with performance-enhancing drugs. But even so, whether it was tainted meat, which, first of all, when you're such a high-profile fighter like Canelo is, and there's been accusations of other fighters testing positive for clenbuterol and claiming it was the tainted beef in Mexico, I would have thought that you don't want to take any chances, especially when you got a $20 million payday running on it. So that's why I tend to lean towards he knew exactly what he was doing. But as a result, Oscar De La Hoya has been pretty stupid, in my opinion, about some of his comments. Let me read a comment, a kind of a long-winded comment from Oscar De La Hoya over this weekend concerning Canelo and the public's perception of his performance-enhancing drug usage. Basically, what he says is this. This is Oscar De La Hoya. He says, the last exam that Canelo was put through was a hair follicle test. Whatever they want to take Canelo through, he's going to do. This whole thing with the levels being so minute with clenbuterol, this outrage is ridiculous. That line to me is ridiculous, because if you want to stay and maintain it was from the beef, you can't say that the fans and public outrage over the fact that Canelo, such a high-profile sports athlete, forget about boxing, tested positive and is being assumed a cheater, that is not ridiculous. Because especially when you're talking about performance-enhancing drugs, what you're doing is you're putting one fighter at risk, assuming only one cheats. So it isn't ridiculous, and it's not outrageous. It's outrageous that he's calling it ridiculous. Let me go on with his comment. He said, in terms of Triple G talking so negatively about Canelo and putting him down all the time, I strongly feel, and this is very serious, I strongly feel that Triple G, those last 3 rounds, he felt against Canelo in Vegas, that the power punching that he felt against Canelo, the fact that he couldn't drop or stop or even hurt him, he knows that the rematch, whenever it happens, alluding to the fact that he's kind of scared of Canelo. I don't know about anyone else.
Well,
I give Canelo, I think, I don't recall 100%, but I thought I gave him the 12th and final round, but certainly not the last 3.
No.
And maybe like Sal and I were talking about earlier, Triple G was giving Canelo a certain level of respect in that fight, but I'm not so sure that he didn't hurt Canelo. And Canelo was running around. I mean, and as far as Triple G talking negatively about Canelo, this is a guy who had never spoken an ill word about anybody, let alone another fighter, up until Canelo tested positive for the clenbuterol, and it canceled his fight. I mean, the guy lost a huge payday. I could see why he was pissed. Anyway, he says, look, I'm fighting Canelo. This is Oscar De La Hoya finishing up his comments. He says, I'm fighting Canelo in September regardless of who he fights. He's fighting again in December. I want him to keep him active. Canelo wants to fight as often as possible, as long as it's not against Triple G, apparently. When it happens with Triple G or not, whether it happens with Triple G or not, then so be it. But Canelo is trained, and he's moving forward. He's done whatever he has to do to make sure and to tell the public, because he knows for himself. He knows that he is an honest and clean fighter. He knows that, and he'll do whatever it takes. And yes, the last thing that was done was a hair sample. And guess what? He passed it with flying colors. I think that Oscar De La Hoya downplaying this whole situation is outrageous. I think that when a safety of another fighter comes into question, that you can't downplay it. You got to take all precautions. It's the same thing we do with a referee who lets a fight go on too much, or we see a guy taking a savage beating and we're saying, why isn't this fight being stopped? It's always better to have a referee stop a fight too soon than too late. So for Oscar De La Hoya to suggest this is a joke. And one last thing before I get your thoughts, Sal, is, Triple G was never really a negative person until this. And I think that Canelo didn't help matters at all by not actually addressing anything himself. he's always had someone else read a statement. He didn't even show up for the hearing in Vegas. He went and decided to have some other surgery that was done. I mean, this is a guy that's acting like he thinks who the hell he is, and then that he's the victim, and that is what bothers me the most. Generally, you get popped for something. We're a forgiving race here. You know, I mean, human beings are forgiving, at least in the United States. If you admit, hey, I made a mistake, we're all human, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? He didn't even do that. He kind of twisted it and turned the blame, and it wasn't my fault. He wasn't holding himself accountable. It wasn't my fault. It was that cheeseburger I ate at that Mexican restaurant. You know, it wasn't my fault. You know, Triple G's talking smack about me. It's like I complain about people not being held accountable. I think this is a great example. I've lost a lot of respect for Canelo. I've said it a lot. Sal, what's your thoughts on Oscar's comments and the way they're kind of twisting it? You kind of alluded to some thoughts you have about no matter what Triple G does, it seems like he's wrong. What's your thoughts on this whole picture?
Well, I said that to you earlier before we started the show. Yeah, no matter what, you're going to have a certain group or class of people or fight fans that no matter what Triple G does, which direction he turns, whatever he says, it's never going to be good enough until he loses, and then they're going to say, well, I told you he wasn't that special, or something else. And the bottom line is, if I was to be objective and really try to show empathy with what's coming from Canelo Alvarez and Oscar De La Hoya, okay, Oscar De La Hoya is going to be the advocate for Canelo because Canelo doesn't really want to talk up too much himself. And, you know, when you deny something, you don't want to be a hypocrite and say, well, you know, this is the way. So I think they knee-jerked, and by denying everything, they had to stay with that story. You know, yes, would it have been forthright and coming if he had said something like, well, you know, I may have eaten the tainted meat, or maybe I tried, or I didn't know, I wasn't aware. And, you know, and that's not unrealistic. What I mean by that, and I'm not trying to stand up for him, I'm just being a devil's advocate, Billy C. That's all. I'm looking at their side. You know, I told you there are some real high-profile world champions that I was privy to when I was co-managed by Richie Giacchetti, that he shared a lot with me, and the things I won't share, and of course not who, but there were situations where there were world champions that were getting a B12 shot in the butt every week or every month or whatever the heck, and they didn't know it was Decker-Durabolin from the 80s or something else. They had no known substance other than a B12 shot going in their butt. And you know, and you know, I'm just saying that this was shared with me. Richie didn't tell me really any fighter's name or this, that, and anything else. He just said sometimes that's the practice on some of those levels with some of those fighters.
Hey, Pinocchio. Pinocchio, your nose is growing. You got names. Go ahead. Finish your story. Go ahead.
You know, it is growing. How's the profile?
Yeah.
Wait. How's this, Bill?
Yeah.
How's that?
Sal saying.
Is that
yeah. Sal saying. Oh, yeah, he didn't. I don't know. I don't have any names. Yeah, okay, Sal. All right, go ahead.
What is
Yeah. Go ahead. Finish.
I know it all.
Yeah.
Okay, I know it all. But forget about it. It's not going to be public.
That's
the bottom line is this. I'm not going to tell a story for nothing if I forget about it. Anyway, so these guys had no idea. They thought they were getting a B12 shot. So maybe Canelo could have said, hey, it was part of my training regimen. I saw a guy gave me some vitamins. I took them as a supplement. I didn't know what they were. You know, I don't know if that was saying something to come somewhat clean. Could have made up some story like that. The bottom line is I do feel in my heart of hearts he was aware of what was going on. Because otherwise he would have came out with a unknowing story other than tainted meat. The bottom line is Canelo Alvarez should try to redeem himself the best way he can, and I do see the possibility of a Triple G fight in September, and I think that's the date that Triple G should definitely go after. And I think I'd like to see Triple G come in the ring with that little nasty streak and that snare and try to make up for what he allowed to escape from his hands the year before when he fought Canelo in September last year. So I want to see the showdown. I want to see Canelo being tested while he trains and prepares for this fight, as Triple G will be tested as well. And I want to see an even playing field, and I want to see Triple G go in that ring with the little streak of that nastiness that he displayed the other night. And I want to see some of those roundhouse punches, how they're going to be shared with Canelo. So I think this fight should happen. I think the fight should happen in September, and may the best man win. And if it's Canelo, we'll find out. But the bottom line is, I think Triple G will definitely make a big statement if he fought Canelo Alvarez.
I think I'm with you. I think that he definitely has to go out there with no respect.
Yeah, that's it. He's got to walk through them. You know, you get hit with a shot, you wade through. I don't care. Triple G, like I said the other night, he showed that little nasty streak, and that's what you and I look for in a fighter at sometimes. Not a controlled rage, for lack of a better term, but yeah, like, I'm here, I'm going to win, I'm going to show you the real me, and you're going to be tasting some real good leather. And that's it.
Yeah, no, I agree. On the co-main event that we had to sleep through on HBO, Cecilia Baracus retained her bunch of titles she has to improve to 33-0 with 9 knockouts over Callie Reese, who wasn't a great fighter and gave. Listen, I just want to say this. Nobody was more involved in female boxing than myself. I had the luxury of working with a multi-division world champion and helped her gain some world titles with Chevelle Hallback. In my opinion, we actually did fight Cecilia Baracus and felt we won the fight, but got robbed in Denmark. But that's besides the point. But my overall point here is it was a boring fight. And Cecilia Baracus is a boring fighter. Is she talented? Is she a beautiful young woman? Yes, she is. Both of those. Is what she's done for her home country of Norway great? Yeah. You know, I'm not taking anything away. She's a great champion. Positive, never gets in trouble. Is a good ambassador for the sport in a sense. You know, she's not this, can't speak, beat up, ugly, scary-looking individual. She's a very attractive woman, very smart, but she's a boring as hell inside the ring. I don't think that this fight, even though it was a historical fight as far as HBO is concerned, made any difference in the female divisions. Female boxing it's not. I know UFC boxing and MMA in general with the females are popular. It's popular. Not so much in boxing. It just isn't. You know, when the fighters during Chevelle's time, the female fighters fought everybody. You would never see a back down. You would never see some of the negotiation tactics that are used in men's boxing. In female boxing, it wasn't there. It's there now. So you have this is all just my opinion. You have the female boxing ranks, and they're starting to pull the same stuff as the men do, and we expect it to be popular. Listen, it didn't help female boxing at all by putting Cecilia Baracus on. Her style of fighting is boring. Now, if they put on a action-packed fighter instead, maybe they move up a couple of notches. But I'm sorry, it was not a captivating fight at all. Hats off to her. They're talking about her either moving up to fight in a higher division, Clarissa Shields, or moving down to fight Katie Taylor. She felt more comfortable moving up, but we'll have to wait and see. Clarissa Shields at least is a little more exciting than Cecilia, but it is what it is. Hey, listen, I am going to take a break here, and hopefully we'll be able to come back as normal because we had the issue before. But I'm going to take a short break. When we come back, we got the rest of the fight results. I got some news. I got some emails. All that stuff is coming up in about 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative three-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800-624-1673. 800-624-1673.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. I want to apologize for any technical difficulties that we're having. Like I said, up where my studio is, we had some major storms pass through here. We did not have power for a couple of days, and I think that some of the repercussions are affecting our broadcast today, and I just want to apologize. Although it's getting a blank shot of your studio over there, Sal. I think that was all your fault. But anyway.
Do you see it now?
No, I see you fine now. But it was weird. I saw you. You see, you don't know, but I get the camera feed in front of me, right?
Yes.
And I saw you live talking, and that's supposed to be a duplication of the actual camera. But when I switched physically to the camera, it was a blank seat. It was like it was a shot. It was weird. It was like
man,
it.
I hope that's no freaking premonition as far as me forget about it.
Well, listen, if it's any consolation, if God forbid something happened to you, Sal, I'm not going to broadcast an empty seat. All right, I wouldn't do that.
Let me tell you, Bill. I just thought about going through Magic Kingdom or the haunted house at Disney and seeing that seat being filled by that ghost. Forget about it.
I just want to conclude one thing about the Cecilia Baracus thing. Now I'm not saying that she is, the greatest. Listen, let me just say this. When I think of the sweet science, okay, I think of fighters like Guillermo Rigondeaux and of course Vasily Lomachenko and Terrence Crawford. I mean, to me, these guys are examples of the sweet science, and the definition of the sweet science is hit and not get hit, but be in position to inflict damage on your opponent again. Why they can't hit you. When you're watching a Rigondeaux fight or a Lomachenko specifically, it's exciting because these guys their opponents are standing in front of them, and they're throwing punches and they're hitting air, and meanwhile they're getting tattooed, right? Now, credit for him to change the perception of the sweet science. Floyd Mayweather, on the other hand, is an example of what I do not refer to as the sweet science. Now, before you jump all over me, I'm not suggesting that Floyd wasn't talented and he wasn't exceptional defensively, because he was. But what he would do is he would throw a punch, avoid being hit, but physically maneuver himself out of harm's way. Now, his opponent couldn't hit him, but he couldn't hit his opponent either because he's at the other end of the ring. To me, that's not the sweet science. Other examples, aside from Floyd, are Slandy Lara. Now, at times, Lara is a guy that did exchange, but for the most part, he was similar to Floyd. Another, which I'm not putting this guy in Floyd's category, but Ishii Smith is another good example of a fighter that's still fighting today, who's always crying that he lost, nobody could hit me, blah, 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 but he doesn't hit anyone else. Cecilia Baracus, to me, is similar to that. Yes, she's elusive defensively, and she boxes a little bit, but she doesn't do anything super great, although she's undefeated, and she's considered the Floyd Mayweather of the female ranks. So I'm just saying, if HBO, Sal, really wanted to help publicize and popularize the female boxing divisions, then I think their first broadcast of a female boxing bout should have consisted of two, fan-friendly female fighters. Wow, that's a tongue twist. Fan-friendly female fighters. I think if they would have went that route instead of, a cautious fighter. And by the way, Callie Reese was a fighter known for not throwing enough punches. So going into it, we're lucky that she did throw punches to make it somewhat close. But she was known not to let her hands go. And she didn't have a stellar record either. So I don't know, man. What's your thoughts?
I saw highlights of it, and I'll tell you, I liked what I saw from the highlights that I saw. And maybe that's why, because they did the clips. And, I think it was HBO's very first time that they actually showed a female boxing match. And, my hats off to them. I think it was enough to get me to want to watch another female fight, in a sense. And, I cannot say I saw actually enough of that fight to comment on it one way or the other. But I think that the fight, it looked like there was some moments there when they did exchange. As I said, I saw the highlights. It looked good on that level. And, we'll have to see if they want to try again with maybe somewhat of a different style of fighters on there. And I'd like to see this whole fight in its entirety, and I'll comment more on it if I can.
No, but I'm just saying, don't you think that they should have? Don't you think they should have picked more fan friendly? I mean, there was no action really in that fight. Maybe from a technical point of view, it was interesting, but if you're trying to get recognition for female fighting, pick a couple of Boom Boom Mancini and Vinny Paz style fighters,
Yes, and maybe they'll try that next time. But yeah, I think, if they were looking for maybe a tactician, hey, look at it from this side, this point of view too. These guys are the suits that make these decisions, make these calls, and do things, and not necessarily the boxing people that you would find making some other calls. And maybe they thought that this would be a nice way to showcase a fight that might not result in being as brutal as it could be, just to give people a little taste of what it's all about. And I mean, if that was the goal, then it did just that. If they wanted to have somebody come in a little bit more combatant style and showcase, what the end result would be if a knockout occurs or that, they would have gotten two punchers and they could have showcased it there. But as you suggested, they had an undefeated fighter. Then why not give the just due from the efforts? And let's see. So I can't criticize because I didn't see enough of the fight. But we'll see if they repeat it, and maybe they will showcase another female fight that might be a little more competitive or action packed, and we'll definitely judge it from then.
An interesting decision that was made by Baracus was that they had the option to go with the smaller glove, the 8-ounce glove, which has been known to cause a little more damage to fighters and pack a more powerful punch because it's closer to your knuckles, to your hands. She chose not to, and she chose not to because she didn't want to get damage inflicted on her. Now, granted, she's beautiful. I mean, I don't blame her for that. But the mentality is the point that I'm looking at. If you're going to – boxing is a hurt sport. Nobody forces you to become a fighter. But when you do make that decision, I think you owe it to the sport to fight. I mean, I don't know. I guess Cali Reese wanted the smaller gloves. Baracus didn't. The end result was a 10-round. And that's another thing. The championship fight, 10 rounds. They don't let the women go 12. And they don't let them go 3 minutes. That was another thing that bothered me. And every female fighter I ever asked about the 2-minute versus 3-minute all wanted to fight 3-minute rounds. So, it is what it is. Moving on. In the happiest result of the weekend for me,
for you, I know that, not for Mr. Haye.
No, but for Tony Bellew, I wish I had his address. I'd send him a bottle of scotch. Improved to 30 wins, 2 losses, and a draw with 20 knockouts, picking up his 20th knockout when he knocked out David the Fraud Haye a second time. David Haye drops to 28-4 with 26 knockouts. Listen. David Haye, I've said this all along. I don't know why the Brits love this guy so much. Maybe he's a good personality in terms of outside the ring, whatever. People want to see him do well. But he's a fraud. This guy is successful in manipulation. And he's been able to manipulate big paydays and get people to pay. He's never really demonstrated anything but bicycle wheels. This guy ran from Nikolai Valuev and got the win. He ran after following and calling out Klitschko for several years. Klitschko would go to the mall and David Haye would pop up. Klitschko would take a dump in the bathroom and all of a sudden David Haye is in the window. I want to fight you. I want to fight. Finally Klitschko fights the guy and David Haye runs for 12 rounds and then puts his foot up on the... Listen, I just couldn't respect him. But I got to be honest. I picked him. If you guys remember on Friday, I picked Tony Bellew to win again. But I threw in there, listen, I'm not going to, I can't stand David Haye. I'm going against him. But I got to be 100% honest. My nose isn't growing like Sal's was a few minutes ago, okay? I'm being totally honest. I did not think that Tony Bellew was going to win this fight. I picked him. I did. But I thought that David Haye was going to muster up another victory and get himself in the mix again. And thank God it failed. And Tony Bellew not only beat him, but knocked him out again. Dropped him twice in the 3rd round. Beat him up in the 4th round. David Haye acted like he injured his leg in the 4th round. And then in the 5th round, he got dropped again. And then they stopped the count. He beat the count, and then they stopped the fight. At the end of the fight, Tony Bellew said, "It's been a great journey. Who's next? I don't know. I'm a walking super series. Every fight I'm in is a super series. I need a mega star to fight." It sounds like he's trying to book himself a fight against, either Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder. I don't know. He's much too small for either one of those guys. David Haye, at least at this point, said Bellew fought a very good fight. I didn't. Tony was the better man. I couldn't quite make it happen. I hope he maintains that, those accolades for Tony Bellew. I hope he doesn't come out today. He might have already saying, "Oh, by the way, I don't want to make an excuse, but I twisted my ankle. I hurt my leg. I want a third fight." Listen, it's over for David Haye. Sal, you watched the fight. What were your thoughts?
Well, it's funny because I looked at it as objectively as I could, and I actually gave the first 2 rounds by slight margin to David Haye. And until he was dropped in the 3rd round, I think that was the beginning of the end. And, I also said to myself during the first couple of rounds, I said, these are what's representing some of the majority of world-class fighters in the heavyweight division. And I didn't really quite see that. And I thought David Haye looked like he was leading with his chin. He was crouched over a little bit with his hands down, and it just didn't look like it wasn't what I expected to see. But neither here or there. Definitely Tony Bellew did a good job getting him out when he had him hurt. And David Haye, to his credit, was a class act in giving accolades to Tony Bellew. So, what's next for each fighter? As you suggested, hey, Tony Bellew wants to climb the ladder, climb the ranks. Maybe he should go in against Tyson Fury or somebody else. Who knows? And I don't think he would have much success. And I shouldn't say this, I don't mean it in a negative way towards his style or towards his fight, but I just do not see him getting in the ring with a Anthony Joshua or even Deontay Wilder. I think that would be a short night.
Yeah, too small. I mean, listen, the heavyweight division right now, although I want to make myself perfectly clear that I don't believe in a super heavyweight division. I don't, okay? I know the amateurs have it. As far as the pros, I like the rule, 200 pounds and above. However, maybe I'm wrong. And the reason I say this is because, David Haye and Tony Bellew are generally small heavyweights. And you get a guy like Tony Bellew, and the argument here as well, they can move around quicker, they're more agile. When you're looking at these big guys, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, the top 2, in that order. These guys are athletic. You like that, right, Sal? These guys are athletic, and I'm critical of Deontay Wilder when it comes to his footwork and stuff in the ring. But let's make no mistake, he's an athletic guy. I mean, I think that Deontay Wilder would be a better basketball player because of his height and his build than he is a fighter. But then again, he's 40-0. So, but neither one of these guys. And assuming that Tony Bellew is the only guy with the opportunity to move forward, would stand a chance against the size of guys like AJ and Deontay, and even the other mix of guys. I mean, the only one that, you look at the smaller heavyweight like Alexander Povetkin, maybe him. I mean, I don't know. But whatever. Also on that card, go ahead.
I'm cracking up. I have this smile on my face from a little earlier, like the cat who ate the canary, because I don't know if you could hear, but as soon as we started talking about the fight with David Haye and Tony Bellew, I started hearing chirping birds in the background singing. I think it's either coming from your living room or my porch. So I'm teasing.
Well, I'm not in my.
Did you hear the birds?
I'm not.
You hear the birds?
I'm not in my. I'm not in a living room, so it's got to be. It's got to be.
I mean, your studio. Your studio. And my studio.
And you.
I got my studio, and adjacent to it is my deck and in my studio, and I hear birds. And they're chirping. I'm glad you can't pick them up, but they're chirping.
You can tell that your studio is your living room. I'm in a real studio here,
I know you're in a real studio.
But
I'm working on mine.
Occasionally we got some
my
birds.
building.
I do have a big picture window here that I could see out, and that was a day I was doing a live show, and I all of a sudden I look out the window because Sal was talking and I wasn't paying attention, and I looked out the window and a bear was walking. I swear to God, I went, oh my God, like this bear was 20 feet from my window looking for some picnic baskets. I was like, there's a bear out in my lawn, but. Anyway, also on that card, unbeaten bantamweight Manuel Rodriguez picked up the IBF World Bantamweight title with a unanimous decision over Paul Butler. Butler hit the deck twice in the first round, but anything exciting and dropped twice. As exciting, but it was exciting for Rodriguez. Rodriguez went on to dominate the fight, 118-108, 120-106 twice, picking up the title. Now, in case y'all forgot, on Friday's show, Paul Butler was not eligible to win the vacant title because he came in overweight. So congratulations to Rodriguez. I think we both picked him. And also, the only reason why I mentioned was on the undercard in the heavyweight division. Joe Joyce improved to 4-0 with 4 knockouts when he beat Lenroy Thomas. Lenroy is a guy I know. He's like a friend of mine. He's out of Florida and worked with one of my trainers for a little bit. He got knocked out, and the fight was stopped. So congratulations to Joe Joyce. A lot of fanfare over on the other side of the pond concerning Joe Joyce. So keep an eye on him, 4-0, 4 knockout heavyweight. In a exhibition fight. Now, we were talking about this on Friday, how strict the Japanese commission is, which I love. They would not approve a fight between Ponsalek Wanjankam, who's a former world champion, who beat Koki Kamada. And Kamada retired too, but not as long out. And they wanted to have a fight, and the Japanese Boxing Commission would not approve it. So they had the fight anyway, but it was considered a 6-round exhibition fight. And Koki Kamada took care of his old and very aged quickly conqueror in Wanjankam as the fight was stopped at 12 seconds of round numero dos, second round. So just goes to show you that the Japanese Boxing Commission, Sal, knew a thing or two by saying, no way are we going to let this fight happen. But the fans wanted to see it. It sold it. And they did what should have taken place in the state of Nevada when Floyd Mayweather fought Conor McGregor. It should have been an exhibition. Everyone would have got their money. Everybody would have watched it who cared about it. Everybody would have succeeded in what they wanted, except it wouldn't have been an official fight. Just like the Japanese Boxing Commission made this an exhibition, that's what should have happened with Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. At least that's my thought, Sal.
Well, it was my thought, too. And, hey, let's look at what the Japanese Commission has done. And I'm still waiting for you to tell me who Kamada retirement.
What's that? Who
I'm still waiting for you to tell me who Kamada retirement.
Koki. No. They both.
I'm doing it. Who's
I know. Kamada. They both did.
Kamada retirement.
No, I got it.
I'm sorry, Bill.
You don't have to highlight the punchline with me. All right, I got it. Sometimes I just want it to go away, but you got to bring it up. But Ryan Garcia improved to 15-0 with 13 knockouts on Friday night when he beat Jason Velez at the StubHub Center. This was a huge test for Garcia. I love this kid. He still stands up too much, but Velez was a real test for him. Jason Velez, a former world title challenger, was no joke. He drops to 26-5. I thought it was an exciting fight, and it's a good learning experience for Ryan Garcia. I think more fighters should be tested early on like Ryan Garcia has been. He's been tested a couple of times now. Specifically, his last 3 fights have all been against decent opposition. And I think that it just will prove that he's going to get better and better by doing this. This was a huge test for him. Quite honestly, I'm saying to myself, wow, they must have a lot of faith in Garcia to put him in with Velez. But what was your thoughts on the fight?
I share the same as you. I said, wow, Velez has twice as many fights as Garcia, twice as many rounds and experience. And you know, he has a good winning record, a solid record, and I think he was 26-4 at the time. Maybe not that dangerous of a puncher, maybe only 10 knockouts, but still, you know, this was a great test for Garcia because he had to go the distance. And I think that Velez was in the fight. He caught Garcia a few times. So for an overall step up on level of competition and graduation to the next level, ideal fight for Garcia. He passed the test, he rose to the occasion, and he definitely won and did a good job in doing so. And this gave him a world of experience to go 10 rounds with a seasoned veteran like Velez. That was a great fight for him.
Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. It's going to be our final break of the show. Apologize for some of the technical difficulties we had at the beginning of the show, but hey, everything's going good now. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C Show. Glad you could be with us. And don't forget, if you're watching on a stream or whatever, just don't forget that our same version that we load up to the television networks is up on YouTube. So if you want to see the full-blown version of this show, including Sal's mug and unfortunately all the commercials, then you got to go to our YouTube feed. And a programming note, we are not doing a live show tomorrow. And I also have a question for you guys. We're considering doing the show 3 times a week instead of 5. What's your thoughts? Drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. How many emails do you think we're going to get on that one, Sal?
I think we'll get a few, and I can share my comments too, but I think we'll get a few emails with that, and I think we'll get some fans that might give some suggestions with they feel might be a good segue for 3 days a week. Otherwise, we'll have the fans that want us on 5 days a week, and so I think we'll have to look at that, and you're going to make that call, pal.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Some other fights I just wanted to talk about real quick before we get into some other stuff real quickly is the co-main event on the Ryan Garcia fight had Gary Spike O'Sullivan. This whole Gary Spike O'Sullivan scenario is confusing because Gary Spike O'Sullivan was the co-main event for Ryan Garcia, 19-year-old, right? And Gary Spike O'Sullivan had appeared on HBO in his previous fight. Now, keep in mind that he is promoted by Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions, and that's who the promoter of this fight was. And Gary Spike O'Sullivan was put in with Berlin Abreu, who lost his second time. Abreu was 14-1 going into this fight, and Gary Spike O'Sullivan knocked him out in 3 rounds to improve to 28-2 with 20 knockouts. Like I said, Abreu dropped to 14-2. My question to you, Sal, does it make any sense at all that Gary Spike O'Sullivan turned down the opportunity to fight as a main event on HBO against Triple G? And even though it wasn't going to be a boatload of cash, it certainly had to be more than what he got paid to fight on ESPN as a co-main event against Berlin Abreu. What's your thoughts?
Well, I couldn't believe it, when I saw him, and I said, wow, how did he let the opportunity to fight for several championships, but against Triple G, where it was going to be showcased worldwide, like this was one, yeah, but you don't turn down a title fight. You get an opportunity. You rise the occasion, you do your best, and you make it happen. And if you can win, you win. And you know what? If you don't win, you stay in the top. You're in the public's eye, and you'll be talked about, and you do what you got to do to get back in the ring against the champion. I found it very. I still don't know because I think, hey, that phone rings. I have a shot against Triple G. I'm going back in the gym. I'm fighting. It doesn't matter. So for him to turn that down and show up in the ring with another opponent lesser than a Triple G for a non-title, I was a little surprised.
Yeah, well, I mean...
he should have taken that title shot. I didn't know why he did not. I don't think it would have ended with him coming out as a victory, but, hey, he could have looked respectable, could have been definitely thrown out there, and I don't know. That's hindsight, and we know how hindsight works, so forget about it.
As we've been doing, our new little treat that we try to do on Mondays is we give you a heavyweight roundup of all the other heavyweight fights that took place over the weekend so that we can familiarize ourselves with some of these heavyweights that, come in out of nowhere fighting our so-called champions. So, and it's been working out pretty well because it definitely gets to see, we definitely get to see some of these young heavyweights on the way up and get to gauge these guys based on who they fight. And these first 2 fights that took place on Saturday out of Canada, are two guys that I'm sure we're going to be seeing in the ring soon based on the number of fights that they've had. Dylan Carmen improved to 13-3 when he knocked out Carlos Caran in the 5th round of a scheduled 6-round fight in New Brunswick, Canada. Carrion drops to 7-5. Chris Norrad improved to 16-0 when he got a knockout in the 6th and final round over Hugo Lamelli, who dropped to 20 wins, 13 losses, and a draw. In Germany, Brandenburg, Germany to be exact, Dujar El Sheikh improved to 5-0 when he stopped Amir Ben Said in the very first round of a scheduled 4-rounder. Said was making his pro debut. He's now 0-1. In the UK, in Birmingham, West Midlands, Adam Williams improved to 2-5 when he won a 4-round decision over Nathan Stevens, who drops to 0-2-1. I love, not that these guys are ever going to be world champions or something, but I love it when you go to a fight card and you're at a club show and you see two guys that are fighting basically for their careers. They may have upside down records or whatever, but they're in against each other. So you know that it's a fair fight. A lot of times you'll see a guy 1-5 going up against a 12-0 guy. He doesn't have a chance in hell. But you see, going into this fight, Williams was 1-5, and Nathan Stevens was 0-1-1. The winner gets to move on. The loser maybe thinks about selling cars or something like that. Out of Foxwoods in Connecticut, Bakahir Jagalov improved to 1-0, making his pro debut when he stopped Hugo Trujillo in the 3rd of a scheduled 6-round fight. Trujillo was undefeated going into this fight. He's now 4-1-1. In Poland, Marcin Rakowski improved to 19-5 when he knocked out Andreas Kazimar in the 5th round of a scheduled 8-round fight. Kazimar drops to 18 wins, 20 losses, and 2 draws. Now, Friday there were a couple of fights as well. In the UK, David Allen improved to 13 wins, 3 losses, and 2 draws when he stopped David Howe in the 4th round of a scheduled 4-round fight. Howie drops to 14-9. And in Reno, Nevada, on Friday night, Frank Sanchez improved to 6-0. Actually, maintained a 6-0 record, and Lamont Capers maintained a 9-12-4 record because the fight was declared a no contest. Lamont Capers got pushed out of the ring by Frank Sanchez, couldn't continue, and the fight was ruled a no contest. So that's what happened in the heavyweight division. I'm really liking following these obscure heavyweight fights, Sal. What about you?
Well, yeah, me too. And you know what? We'll see some of these rise to the occasion, and sure, well enough that, you know what? We'll see one of them or two of them or several of them that you're mentioning now early in their career over the next year or two become a contender. So maybe fight for the title. So, no, I think it's very good, and gives us a chance to showcase some good young talent or some people that you otherwise would not hear too much about.
Right. The thing is what prompted me to start doing this was pretty simple. I got sick of seeing these names that all of a sudden popped up, and next thing you know, they're fighting for a title, and we're like, where'd this guy come from? He's 25-0. He's from some place I never even heard of, can't even pronounce his name, and all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, he's a number one contender. Who is he? Well, this is going to keep us on track for that. So
absolutely, Bill, I think it's ingenious. So my hat's off to you, pal.
Ingenious. Oh, there's that nose growing again. There's that nose.
There's no Pinocchio with that, David. I think it's great. It makes a lot of sense. It's common sense, and hey, I congratulate you for implementing it on the show. So. Yeah.
Okay, stop. I hope you're wearing hip waders in your studio. But anyway, let's get some emails out the way. First one's from my man Joel. I want to thank Joel. He's the only one that gave us a super chat today to kick off our Monday morning. He says, hey, Billy C., if Triple G and Canelo could not come to terms for the rematch in September, who would you guys like to see Triple G fight? I'm wondering if Joel is watching our shows, Sal, because I've said this a million times. I hope that he doesn't fight Canelo. And if I'm Triple G's team, I would 100% pursue Billy Joe Saunders. And then I would call it a day. Contrary to what Triple G was saying Saturday night, he wants to fight everybody. But me personally, I want to see him fight Billy Joe Saunders. I say forget about Canelo. I think Canelo, listen, not only myself, I've lost a lot of respect, but I think a lot of people have. Sal, who would you like to see?
I tell you what, Bill, what you just said, I am very fortunate enough. Like I said, I have a lot of fight fans at the restaurant. I mean, whether they were brought into the fold with some of the promotions that you and I have run out of the restaurant, and some of the fights that we've held there, and some of the celebrity fighters that do come down there. I'll tell you what, it's exciting, but also to hear some of the comments about how some of these people felt about Canelo Alvarez afterwards and what they had to say. And I do want to see this fight. I do want to see it even more so now. And I'll tell you why. Because I really feel in my heart of hearts, I gave Triple G the victory against Canelo Alvarez the first time out. And I would like to see it done so again in a signature statement. And I'd like to see Triple G and Canelo Alvarez fight again. And let there be no doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that who I think is going to win would be Triple G. And then I would like to see Triple G, although he's ready for anybody. He said he'll fight everybody and anybody. He wants to keep that faith and that momentum alive. I think a nice fight against a good competitive fight against Billy Joe Saunders, I think would be a statement to the world. Hey, guess what? I'm going for the last belt available, and let's see what happens. And Billy Joe Saunders is not going to be a layover. I'm telling you this. It's going to be a competitive, tough fight for Triple G and for Billy Joe Saunders, and may the best man win. But if I could outline the rest of this year for Triple G, I'd say fight Canelo in September. You get past Canelo, then before the end of the year, fight Billy Joe Saunders, and there you go. You'll have your 3 fights for the year, and you'll retire undefeated with all the belts, if that's a tailor-made program for Triple G.
Next email is from a man, Coach, and he says, hey, Billy C., good fight this weekend, but wasn't sure if you saw this, and he had sent me a link to an article and a video of Gervonta Davis breaking up a fight that was taking place outside of a strip club. And then Coach says, funny how the hype goes pushing the point that Gervonta Davis broke up a fight while almost overlooking the point that a world champion is hanging out at a strip club late at night to begin with. He says it's a recipe for disaster. What's your guys' thoughts? I agree with Coach 100%. You know, the fact that, you know, some of these guys, and not just fighters, but, you know, any type of high-profile athlete, and Gervonta Davis is certainly a guy that wants to be a big name in the sport. The biggest and fastest road to that success is to keep your nose clean. And to keep your nose clean, avoid putting yourself in situations that bad things could happen. And whether you like strip clubs or not, good things usually don't happen at strip clubs. What's your thoughts on this, Sal?
Hey, you know, I can't say. He could have been walking past, going to the club next door or a restaurant. I don't know if he was going in the strip club or whatever, but he just happened to be a citizen and saw a fight. And he wanted to say, hey, let me step in here and stop it. So I don't know if he was at the strip club or if he was going to the strip club. He could have been walking past the restaurant next door. I don't know, Bill.
Yeah, no, right. He was just passing by. Just passing by. Just passing by.
No, I know what you're saying. And no, you know, like I said, you got a few short years. You're an athlete. You're a world-class athlete. You're a champion athlete. You're all that people look up to on a certain level, a certain sport. And you try to do what's good for the sport as a representation, and also for your life to stay out of harm's way and some stuff that you don't need in your life. And, you know, who knows? You know, there's been situations when Good Samaritans have tried to break up fights and they get cracked in the head with a bottle, or they get this, or they get stabbed, or they have this. I mean, there's so many things that can happen. So how do you avoid all those potential things happening? What do I always say, Bill? You put your hand in the fire, you might get burned. So you don't put your hand near the fire.
Exactly. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. One last
and it's
email.
just for a few short years, guys.
One last email. This one's from my man Chip, which is more commonly known as Mitch. He says, "Hey Billy C, I'm going to swallow my pride and give you your due. Billy C. Stradamus has struck again." He says, 3 things that you've been mentioning in the past really resonated with me over the weekend. He says, number 1, yes, Billy C, Jim Lampley has slipped beyond repair, and the entire HBO crew needs to be overhauled. They were awful and have been for some time. Even the guy Nelson, he's talking about Peter Nelson, who was the one of the primary HBO decision makers, has to go. Max Kellerman and his Andre Ward fan crush and all-time great comparisons are killing me. Despite how much Larry Hazard doesn't care for him, I'll take 10 Max Kellermans over 1 Mario Ranallo. First of all, before I move on to the second one, I've been saying this for a long time. Jim Lampley, I love the guy. He's done so much for the sport. I've gotten to meet him many times. He's done. He can't. He's reliant too much on the punch stats, and he, some of his comments don't come out until the punch stats are there. Roy Jones Jr., great pound for pound, all-time great fighter, terrible announcer. He's always talking about himself. I can't stand it anymore. If that was a low blow. Max Kellerman is trying to convince everybody before the replay that Triple G knocked out Vanes Martirosyan with a illegal punch, that he was already on the ground.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I didn't like it because it happened so quick. He was on his way down. And what's he supposed to do? A guy puts his butt on the rope and you're supposed to back off him? What if the referee didn't call it? No.
You got the momentum. You get caught in the moment. And, it was not intentional. It played out, and no way could they have really disqualified him for that in a sense. And then Roy Jones Jr. actually saying, and I was a little surprised, but he actually said, if that was me in the ring, I would have been disqualified. But he didn't say me. He said if that was Roy Jones Jr. in the ring, I would have been disqualified. Roy Jones would have been disqualified.
Yeah, that's what he kept saying. It's always him. He acts like he never got any benefits of the doubt. He's terrible. The best one of the group, I think, is Harold Letterman. And Harold has told me many times that he thinks Jim Lampley is the best. So, but I do agree with my man Mitch that I'll take those. I'll live with those guys forever over Ranallo. Ranallo is terrible. Anyway, he says if HBO doesn't get Anthony Joshua, I'm not sure where they're going to go. They're in bad shape right now, and the future doesn't look good. I agree. They're putting less than stellar fights on. The one I'm supposed to be ringside for this weekend, Saddam Ali. No disrespect, but HBO, Saddam Ali, HBO. The co-main event. I mean, this was like a maybe HBO After Dark, but an ESPN type card for me. Making a historical fight with first women's fight being on HBO. I love that. I just think that they should have picked a more exciting duo of fighters. Cecilia Baracus is not known for knocking anybody out. She's only got 9 knockouts. She's a tactician. But that's not exciting to watch. If you like to watch that, then you like Floyd Mayweather. I don't like fights that are like that. Okay, now, before anybody tells me about Willie Pep winning a round without throwing a punch, if an opponent is throwing punches at you for 3 minutes and they can't land a punch, and literally did not land one punch, and you didn't throw a punch, my question would be, how do you score the round? Do you score the round for a guy who avoided all those punches, or do you score the round for the guy trying to land the punches? Aggressiveness, I don't know. In that Willie Pep story, the myth, that legend, listen, I love defensive fighters, don't get me wrong. But I like excitement. I like a defensive fighter like Vasily Lomachenko. You can't hit him, but he's pounding the hell out of you. Guillermo Rigondeaux, like I mentioned earlier. Terrence Crawford is another great example. You can't hit him. He's very careful, but yet he's got the mean streak and he engaged. You got to engage. That's all. That's my thoughts. I mean, what's your thoughts, real quick, Sal?
Well, you got to engage, of course. I mean, if you could be hit, you could be in position to hit, and vice versa. And it's sweet science. I mean, even as much as Roberto Duran. I mean, that's what I used to love about him. He didn't get credit for some of the moves he had inside while he was battering his opponents. He was slipping some punches too, and that's how you definitely exchange. And you definitely dish it out. You slip the punches and block the punches, and you try and exchange. You're in the pocket, and there's different variations, but the truth of the matter is, hey, boxing is an action-packed sport.
The last comment that Mitch has is he says, lastly, please tell me to stop please tell them, HBO, to stop force-feeding us women's boxing. It doesn't sell. There's no market for it, and I get the feeling some agenda-driven group or person is being done a favor. If Ann Wolfe and Layla Ali fought, it would have gained attention for a second, but then it would have faded to where it is today. I was at the StubHub Center, and thank God it was only 8 p.m. in the West, out West. I never would have stayed awake to see the Triple G fight if I had been home on the East Coast. Leave the women on non-televised cards or as part of all-female cards. There's no more historical events in women's boxing, please. I couldn't agree with Mitch more. And I also like his analogy of Ann Wolfe against Layla Ali. Now, that would have been, an exciting fight to watch on HBO. No question. Christy Martin. When Christy Martin used to fight on the pay-per-views, it was exciting. You got to see her fight. You got to see, that action. She was an exciting fighter.
Action-packed fight.
Right.
She brought the fight. She got in the pocket.
But I'm just saying.
I've seen some of her fights.
I know.
Yes.
But I'm just saying, Sal, if you want to make a historical statement, put a memorable fight on. Nobody's going to remember that fight. I'm sorry. And don't get me wrong. I am not taking anything away from Cecilia Baracus. I'm not. She's the best female fighter, pound for pound, in the sport today. There's no question about it. But she's just a boring fighter. I'm sorry, she's boring. And to put her on HBO as a co-main event was a mistake. And I agree with Mitch here 100%. What's your thoughts?
Well, like I said, I think that HBO was trying to do something, and maybe they could have selected two different female fighters or another venue as far as showcasing a good female fight, a true one that's going to be very competitive. Maybe it was their matchmaking. Maybe it was just whatever. And I think they'll try and do it again, and maybe they'll give us a little more action-packed fight between two female fighters in the future.
Well, you know what? Listen, if they wanted to make an impact and gain some interest for female boxing, they needed to put a captivating fight on there. This was not a captivating fight. It was a chess match. And maybe people are into that. But I think the masses of people are into exciting fights. That's why if you look at who is leading the pack today in the sport of boxing in terms of fan recognition and excitement levels, et cetera, are all exciting fighters. I always use Floyd as an example. Floyd leads the pack as a moneymaker. He leads the pack in pay-per-views. He leads the pack in all those things. But just close your eyes and think of a memorable fight from Floyd Mayweather. None. You'll fall asleep trying to think. You think of these other fighters, Triple G. You could immediately think of Saturday's fight. Mike Tyson, Sonny Liston, George Foreman, Joe Frazier. Duran is several. I mean, Leonard, Jack Dempsey. All these fighters.
We can list a plethora of fighters because that's the impressions they left because they were in great fights, competitive fights.
They were not only competitive, they were in action-packed fights. And trust me when I tell you, there's a lot of action-packed, exciting female fighters. And the one that I got to work with, one of the fighters in Chevelle Holbach, she was an exciting fighter. She went in for the kill. So I mean that's what you want to see. There's a lot of fighters, specifically out of the Northeast, that are tough fighters that come to fight. If you were trying to make a move towards televising female boxing, then they damn well better had a much more exciting fight. And when you think about behind the scenes, look at the opponent they picked. Generally, Callie Reese was not known for letting her hands go. One of the biggest knocks on her is that she waits for that perfect opening, and with 2 minutes around, fighting 10-round fights max, the opportunities are far and few in between. So it was like they picked a cautious fighter to begin with, Team Baracus, Cecilia Baracus. So, thank God Callie Reese fought better than she normally does to make it a little bit exciting if you were looking at it. But I'm sorry. The best thing I thought about that fight was how beautiful Cecilia is. That was my biggest interest. As far as the fighting itself, no. I found myself thinking of other things, my mind wandering. I couldn't pay attention. But anyway. One last thing I want to talk about today. Apparently, it's more than just talk. Mikey Garcia, undefeated fighter, 38-0 with 30 of his wins coming by knockout, who's scheduled to fight Robert Easter Jr. At the end of July in L.A., is seriously, now a lot of this I thought was a rumor, but is seriously discussing a promotional agreement with Dana White, who has threatened us before that he's going to move into boxing. And not only are they discussing a promotional agreement with Mikey Garcia, they're negotiating terms. They're at the point where they're actually negotiating terms. So this is a big I think, move for Dana White. He pick up a guy like Mikey Garcia. Now, I happen to like Mikey Garcia. I like everything about this kid, and this would be a good fighter to sign to get your feet wet in the sport of boxing. What's your thoughts, Sal?
Well, just what you suggested. I mean, Dana White to come over to boxing, and to start promoting. It could be a whole catalyst. It could be a whole thing that might be good for boxing. Surely we all know what he has as far as success with the UFC. And signing a top fighter like Mikey Garcia, who's an undefeated quality champ, he's a great fighter. And to have that as your ambassador and your welcoming to the sport of promoting in world-class boxing, I think is a great attribute, and one that, hey, if it does come to fruition, well, my hat's off to both of them.
Well, I think that it would definitely help.
Get everyone's attention. I'll tell you that, and I think it would help. I don't know, if Mikey Garcia's got to look and question, the positive benefits he's going to receive from a Dana White promotional contract. You look at the top dogs out there today. You still have King, you still have Arum, you have main events, you have Golden Boy certainly, and you have a few other ones out there.
Well, the
UK.
Let's be real. And Don King he looked terrible, by the way. He's aged very. I know he's 86, but listen, in the U.S., we really only have Oscar De La Hoya as a promoter, and if you still want to call them promoters, even though by definition they're not, the PBC. You also have the lower ones, like you suggest. Don King isn't even in the discussion anymore because he hasn't put on his own event in a decade. But there are some smaller promoters around, but the big promoters are outside the U.S., it seems. The U.S. needs a big promoter. And I've always said, and I've been saying it more often lately, is Floyd Mayweather and Mayweather Promotions could be that promotional company that we need back in the U.S. Golden Boy was, but they had Richard Schaefer. Since Richard Schaefer has left, Golden Boy Promotions has faded. The successful blueprint for a promotional company to be big, okay? Number one, you got to be willing to spend money. You got a lot of small promoters in the U.S. right now Star Boxing, Banner Promotions, I name because they team up with several fighters, DeBella, etc. These guys don't open up their checkbooks. So yeah, you'll see them do these cards here and there and stuff like that. But they're trying to create opponents for the big guys so that they can get their cut. That's the truth, okay? Whether you want to believe it or not, that's the truth. That's the business truth. These guys don't want to invest any money. So if you want to be a big promoter and you want to be successful, you got to have some money that you're willing to invest. Dana White obviously has money, okay? Floyd Mayweather obviously has money. Oscar De La Hoya had the money in the beginning. And if you have the money and you're willing to invest, the proper and most successful blueprint is simple. It sounds simple. Once you get past that spending the money part, it is simple. Because if you get yourself some quality veteran fighters, top names, that will help build your brand of your promotion company, and then concentrate on a good group of young, talented fighters that you build up while you have the name fighters as your headliners. Because remember, they're a temporary thing. The name fighters, the Mikey Garcias, the Oscar De La Hoyas when he started, Floyd Mayweather, when he was doing Mayweather Promotions, he himself, they knew that their days were numbered, but they were still big draws. So what you do is you sell those fights with the big name, and on the undercard, you have all these small fighters that you're building up. So that after a couple of years, now you have young fighters that are built up, that have gotten name recognition. Danny Garcia is a perfect example. Danny Garcia was on, when he went from amateur to pro, he was on all these big cards, undercards, and got the exposure, and the rest is history. That's what a successful promotional company blueprint is. Floyd Mayweather is in that position right now to do that. And for some reason, he doesn't pull the trigger. And I believe in Floyd's case, it's because Floyd still likes all the limelight. Now, Dana White, he likes limelight too, but he's not a fighter. So he might be the answer. Golden Boy, they seem to be, flopping like a fish out of water without Richard Schaefer. Then you go over to, other countries. You got great promoters that put on, a lot of shows. Yvonne Michelle in Canada. Eddie Hearn, who's moving to the U.S., he's over in Europe. Those guys are successful. And they're going to be successful here too, Sal. And that's what we need. We need another really good, top A-level, United States-based promotion company. And I fear that we really don't have one.
Well, not today, as cumulatively as we just mentioned a bunch of them right now. Golden Boy can regain and sustain a good level of promoting, I think. Eddie Hearn coming over here, forget about it. I think he'll sign, he'll do what he has to do to be the best. And surely he's done some real good things for boxing and promoting in the past. I think you do have also a great opportunity for Floyd Mayweather and Mayweather Promotions, and you have some others that are coming up. And I think that I think the Golden Ring is there for people that want to invest in the sport of boxing and into the fighters and then really promote. I think you've got a couple good people that can really rise to the top and see what happens.
I think that, because the biggest, you mentioned main events. Kathy Duvitt does a good job. She's that B tier. She's not an A tier, and she's not a C tier like DeBella and Starr and Bowner. She's above them. But I think one of the most important attributes a promotional company can have today is the willingness to work with other promoters. Bob Arum and Top Rank are a very successful promotional company, but they're not so warm and fuzzy about working with other promoters. It's like they're trying to recreate what Dana White was successful at doing with the UFC and have their own thing. In other words, more division in the sport. We got division with sanctioning bodies. We got division with promoters. We got division with fighters and teams and this and that. You need unity in boxing to make it work the way it should. So if there's a new promoter out there that has a lot of money, because you remember the old saying, if you want to make $10 million in the sport of boxing, you better start out with $25 million. So it's time for our trivia question. Now, the one that I've been asking, I'm not asking. I didn't get a winner. I'm not going to
Are
give
you kidding me? You didn't get a winner yet.
No, that's a tough one.
About the one with the brother in the same week. Boom, boom. You still haven't got
that's
that?
the one. And
are you kidding me?
Well,
let's Google it right now together, you and me. Do you have the answer?
I have the answer, but I'm not gonna give everyone the answer.
I want the answer.
I'm gonna reuse it. Okay. And we will get that. But here's today's question. All right. What do and this is one that I've done already. So I've given this answer out at some point in the last 15 years.
There's another huge question. Go ahead.
This is a tough one. It's a tough one. So if you're the first one to email me correctly, Billy at Talkin' Boxing, that's TALKINBOXING.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game, just like the one that Alex uses on our Blast from the Past segment, which this week, by the way, is Charles Turner. We'll tell you all about the Stockton Cyclone. But anyway, what do Ted Kid Lewis, David Shade, and Young Stribling all have in common? What do Ted Kid Lewis, David Shade, and Young Stribling all have in common? If you're the first one to email me, Billy at Talkin' Boxing, TALKINBOXING.com, you'll win the prize. Keep in mind, we only look at the emails. They have to be timestamped just in case two come in. The one that comes in first wins. So I'm going to read it one more time. We're going to give Sal a chance to answer it correctly. We'll see what happens. But what do Ted Kid Lewis, Dave Shade, and Young Stribling all have in common? Email me if you know this answer, Billy at Talkin' Boxing, TALKINBOXING.com. Sal, Rocky, Santa Cola, do you have an answer?
I do.
What is it?
They may have all known Jack Dempsey.
Wow. Do we have a winner? No, we don't. We don't have a winner. So the question is still available for everyone, and you know what it's not. They didn't all happen to know Jack Dempsey. They may have all known him, but that's not the answer.
They have all known him.
Yeah, that's not the answer. So good luck to everybody on that. Email me the correct answer. On this day in boxing history, May 7th, in 1975, Miguel de Oliveira went de Oliveira. I don't know why. Good. I like it. It's Oliveira. I don't know why. I can't even read my own writing. Miguel de Oliveira wins a 15-round decision over Jose Duran to win the vacant WBC World Junior Middleweight title. Took place in Monte Carlo. On this day in 1994, Terry Norris wins a 12-round decision over Simon Brown to regain the WBC World Junior Middleweight title. Took place in Vegas. On this day in 1994, Julio Cesar Chavez wins an 8-round technical decision over Frankie Randall to regain the WBC World Junior welterweight title. Took place in Vegas. Remember, that was the first time he lost against Frankie Randall, the first fight. On this day in 2005, Diego Corrales knocks out Jose Luis Castillo in the 10th round to win the world lightweight title, and that took place in Las Vegas. What a fight that was, in case you guys didn't watch that one. On this day, May 7th, 1994, Jesse James Leheja wins a 12-round decision over Azuma Nelson to win the WBC World Junior Lightweight title. Took place in Vegas. And on this day, May 7th, in 1937, not only one of my favorite fighters, but Rocky Marciano's favorite fighter in the world, Lou Ambers, wins a 15-round decision over Tony Canzoneri to retain his world lightweight title, and that took place at the Madison Square Garden in New York City. Hey, boys and girls, that concludes our show for today. Remember, we're not doing a live show tomorrow, but we will be back better than ever on Wednesday. So make sure you tune in Wednesday morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.